I was 16 years old in the city of Laredo, Texas. I had a chip on my shoulder. I had a heart that was made of stone. I had grown numb to the feeling of peace. I had grown deaf from the Word of God. You see, I had become addicted to a lifestyle that was revolved around selling drugs. I sold roofies, which is rochas. I sold weed. I sold coke. I sold crack, heroin. And back in those days, you know, I was getting chicle, puro chicle negro, la tecata. So I was pushing this in low markets, obviously. But besides that, I was robbing people. I was hitting licks on cars and taking them to Mexico for a profit. You see, Laredo, Texas is a border town right there para el otro lado. It's very easily, in those days, I could just take a car real quick. At that time partner Edgar Valiana. Edgar is no longer alive right now, but he lived right behind that McDonald's on Saunders. And for a long time, I was a really good friend of mine. He OD'd on heroin a few years ago. Rest in peace. G. I was affiliated with the Latin Kings, the Laredo chapter. Back in those days, we didn't even really rock the chapter that hard. It wasn't until some years later that we really would start getting connected with the entire state of Texas. That's a private matter that I'm not really going to discuss on the videos. We're going to keep that private out of respect for the nation. Before that, I had been running the streets by myself. In Solano, I rode alone, I sold dope alone, I hit licks alone. Everything I did alone, man. So at 16 years old, I had it. You know, I saw all my friends, my carnales, you know, the closest friends to me, everybody was getting down with the nation. Everybody was becoming an affiliate of the Kings, you know. So I was like, you know what I mean, this is where I belong. I asked to get put down, and I asked several times, and I was like, man, put me down, put me down. I'm ready, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, the whole time I was asking to get put down, I kind of felt like they knew I was ready. And to jump in, they knew what time it was. They're like, man, you know what I'm saying? Everybody knew I had them hands, bro. So it's like, man, I'm not sure we want to put this guy down. But after several times of me reaching out to todos los carnales, they put me down, bro. They blessed me into the nation. And they opened up the books for me, you know what I mean? Paved the way. So I was embraced into the lifestyle, and I fell in love with it, man. It gave me a sense of family, a sense of belonging, a sense of a brotherhood. Like, hey, this is where you belong, you know. And I was in love with it. I was like, man, we did everything together. Now instead of me breaking all these laws by myself, now I had, you know what I'm saying, hundreds of carnales that were ready to ride. I ended up catching a case for aggravated attempted murder on 3 peace officers. They dropped it down to an assault on a public servant by the grace of God, and I got 1 year in TYC. That year I turned it into 2 for the trouble I would get into. And the crazy part about that is, when I originally got arrested for that aggravated assault on a police officer ×3, and really, it was almost an aggravated attempted murder. That's what they were trying to charge me with. You know, by the grace of God, I was like really giving out. I went in there with 2 other guys. You know, 2 of them were sureños. You know, I was a king. Back in those days, around that era, especially, you know, things can fall off at any given time, but we had a treaty with the sureños, you know. And us and the sureños were affiliates. We're basically allies, if you would. So we tied the flags there. We were allies. And, we would do crimes together. We would beef with other gangs like Movida, CPV. We would beef with guys like that. I'm in a stolen vehicle and I see a police officer right in front of me. But find out it was an off-duty police officer working a security job, like 2 jobs. So he gets in front of me and he says, "Get out of the vehicle." And I got the other Sureño homie with me. And, I was telling him, "Duck, man, I am not, getting out." So I ducked it, I floored it, and he lets off some gunshots through the window. Boom, 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 boom. He starts firing up the Suburban. It was a stolen Suburban I had stolen out of Paul Young Auto Mall. It's right there in front of the HEB on Saunders. So I hit a lick on this thing. I was like, man, I'm taking this to Mexico, you know what I mean? I already had it sold for $1,000 bucks. I was like, man, I'm gonna go flip it real quick. He shoots out the front tire and I'm rolling on the rim, and I'm like, man, I wasn't anticipating all that, you know what I mean? I had only thought far ahead, like this was supposed to be an easy lick. As soon as I got in the truck, he was already on me. I had the key to it. So as soon as I jumped in, I turned it on and he was already there, like he knew I was coming for it. Something like that. So I'm rolling down 69 or 359. So I'm rolling down that street, headed to my rancho out there far away, you know what I mean? A few miles down. So I'm headed down there and with the rim and the police see me, they start tagging me. So we on a high-speed chase and they trying to block me in. So I rammed the Suburban into one and then I rammed into the other one and they kind of crashed off into the one thing on all the cactus. So I kept smashing, I'm driving down 359 and I spun out of control and boom, I flipped, I landed sideways. So when I land sideways, they rush in, they break the windows. They broke all of them, the ones that weren't broke already. So they climbing in, they take me, they handcuff me, and they take me to the police station. In the police station, they're like, "Estás bien pendejo. ¿Por qué chingados hiciste ese jale?" Que no, hombre. So they take me to juvie, they take the other guy to the county jail. And, there was another guy that was a lookout, he had got arrested too, another one of those Sureños. They both ended up, started riding with somebody else when they grew up. We was in our teenage years at this time. So I'm in the juvie, they're in the county. This is how crazy it all went down, man. And it went down just like this. I'm in juvie for 2 weeks exactly, man, for this incident right here that I was speaking of. They let me go. Boom, I'm back on the streets. As soon as I touch ground on the streets, I'm back to breaking the law. I'm back committing crimes. I had left the stash at a hotel I was living at. It's a bunch of rochas and pases. So I hit up my peoples, they had it all, they were holding it for me. There you go. So I'm back out here serving, bro. Vendiendo jale, looking to see what else I can jack, what other vehicles I can jack. I'm like, boom, I see another one, so I hit a lick. Bam, I'm back in another whip, So that's how I rolled. I rolled, man, when I tell you I was hardcore, man, I'm telling you, bro, this is exactly how I lived, bro. This was my life. So I'm back on the streets again, bro. Selling, doing my thing. A couple of weeks go by. Boom, I get popped. We in El Siete Nuevo, ahí en la colonia. And there was a guy that I had gotten into an altercation with and we jumped him. So the guy was there, he's like, "Man, what's up now, bro?" Like his people were like wanting it, you know what I mean? So we had already smashed this dude and jumped him. And twice actually, and twice he snitched on us, and then, you know what I mean? I catch another case, for an assault. I'm locked up in there for assault. I last 2 weeks, boom, back out on the streets. And as soon as I hit the streets, I already had 2 stolen whips stashed somewhere. You know what I mean? One of them that I took and sold it, and I was driving around the other one. That's how I rolled. I always had a stolen car, and I always had stolen cars for sale. I always had drugs for sale. I always had guns for sale. Everything was for sale, bro. 16 years old. I was in love with the life. So I catch another case, and this would be the last case that I caught. What had happened is we had hit a lick, at a pawn shop nearby. I'm not gonna say which one or nothing like that, but I guess the car had been identified or something, man. And I'm at one of the Sureños' crib, and I wake up because we had did it together. So I wake up and he's like, "Hey, bro, me, a few of the Kings, and one of the Sureños." So we hit the lick on all that, you know what I mean? And I'm over there at his crib. I go to sleep. Next day, I wake up and he's looking out the window. He's like, "Hey, wey, hay chingo de juras afuera, huh?" I was like, "Man, cierra la cortina, man, like close the curtain." He was telling me the cops are outside. So he does, boom. They kick the door in, they raided the crib. I'm hiding in the closet, they go in there, they find me, I'm put under arrest. You know what I mean? Little did I know that they weren't even looking for us for that lick. They had seen my car parked outside and they recognized the place for another incident we had been involved with. So we had the gang unit out after all of us. He had a picture. He said, "Oh yeah, I got you, Ivan." That's another Latin King off the list. You know what I mean? They had a whole gang unit out, taking every last one of my carnales in. And when I went to TYC, there was a total of 10 Kings that went with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, chingo de carnales mío, we all went to TYC, And the ones that didn't go to TYC, they had to hold it down out on the streets. But other ones had to go to the county, went to prison, just different things went down. So I'm 17 years old, and in TYC, they got what's called Marlin unit. Marlin is basically gonna be your orientation unit. Everybody that gets sent to the Texas Youth Commission in those days was gonna get sent to Marlin orientation unit. You stay there anywhere from 1 to 2 months. In that time, they're gonna evaluate you. They're gonna find out what yard they're gonna place you in, depending on your whatever, they got going on, your crime, where you're from, and really it hardly even matters because they just basically put it wherever they want, wherever they want. If this prison's packed, they're gonna shoot them somewhere else. That's simple as that. So I'm in Marlin unit, and when I step into Marlin unit, they're changing me over into oranges, you know what I mean? I'm with about 20 different dudes. We all change it into oranges, they put us in, boom. When you get there, as soon as you walk into one of the dorms, because they're gonna give you a blanket, your sheet, your pillow, everything. I walk in, you know what I mean? And boom, as soon as they get in, they put all your stuff down. Get a wall. And the orientation unit is different than the actual yard you go to. Nobody really runs the orientation compound, because people just kind of passing through, you know what I mean? So nobody really, what you do got is a lot of recommits. Recommitted offenders that got out of TYC, caught another case, violated the probation, got sent back to TYC. So when they get back, they lacing me up on, all the recommits, lacing up the new dudes on what to expect. How what ranch they were in, how it ran over there, how it worked, what gangs were running this compound, what gangs were running that. So automatically I have been laced that in San Sabo, a lot of the Sureños had that compound. They had that school, as they called it. So I get to that state school, and I'm in the state school, boom. And the state school is like this. In state school, you're gonna have to go get your diploma or your GED. There ain't no ways around that. So that's what it's revolved around. You got youth offenders from 12 years old all the way to 21, you know what I mean? Or to 20, because you get kicked out when you're 21. So you got offenders from 12 to 20, you know what I mean? And it's usually the older guys that have been there a while and that are affiliated with gangs, and they run in the tank. The COs there, they vouch for whoever's running the tank, you know what I mean? Whoever's running that little pod, is going to have juice with the staff. All the staff going to turn to them to get all these guys in check. That's kind of how they run there, because they got a level system, level 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you get there, everybody's a level 1. You got 0 privileges. They try to control shit by giving you privileges that others don't. As soon as you get a level 4, you can have free world clothes and Nikes, you know what I mean? You can have a watch, a chain, they let you have all these privileges, you know, you get extra like snacks, because over there they didn't have commissary. There's no commissary in the state school. They started implementing commissary right before I left, but for the whole time, the duration of TYC, they had no commissary. So what was happening is you get a lot of these child molesters, you get different, you know, dudes that just ain't, you know, backing their stuff up, because everybody gets tried, bro. Like they got their food getting taken, you know what I mean? Like they got their food getting taken, you know what I mean? Their food gets snatched. And this one dude at the Marlin unit, he thought I was a punk. He's like, hey man, I want that cornbread, bro. I was like, man, you want that? You can go ahead and get that, homie. So when he reached over to get my steal, I stole off on him. Boom, 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 boom. I didn't give him a chance to hit me once. I go to the shoe, I go to segregation, I'm in there about a week, and then they tell me to get my stuff. So when I get my stuff, they put me on a van full of other guys, and we headed to the San Saba State School in San Saba, Texas. So when I landed in San Saba State School, you know, I had already been laced on how I was gonna go. So I get into a tank and automatically, like, ¿qué onda, Jones? ¿Con quién corres ese? Le dije, no, pues soy Latin King, homie. No, pues los Latin King no corren aquí, homie. Le dije, no, guacha, con todo respeto, man. Yo tengo chingo de camaradas que eran sureños, you know what I'm saying? In Laredo, we had Thai flags out there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Tengo camaradas, and I threw names out there, and they recognized the names. They're like, hey, because one of them was a recommit. So he's like, man, all right, we're gonna let you make it in here, Holmes, because I was talking to un vato que estaba ahí de Laredo that recognized me. He's like, no, man, I know this vato, Holmes. He kept, So all right, they let me make it. Officially, they were supposed to have smashed on me, but they didn't. So I stay there, you know, I'm in that tank for maybe like 4 or 5 months, you know. I'm in the education system, going to school, get my GED. I'm seeing a lot of people get in fights and all that. Because in there, it wasn't really about that shank game. People weren't really stabbing each other like that. It was all about them hands. People were getting beat up every day. It was people getting smashed on. So it took about a good 5-6 months before I got in my first altercation, because I had said, man, I'm not gonna go down this route, you know what I mean? Because I was headed to the drug unit. The drug unit, there's like a 6-month waiting period before you can get in there. But when you get in there, you stay like another 6 months and they knock off some time or something like that. But what had happened is I got in an altercation, you know, I got in a fight, I got sent to segregation. While I'm there, they have a hearing on me. Every time you get an altercation, you got any kind of shots against you, you're gonna have a hearing. And then depending on the hearing, they give you time. They gave me more time. They gave me 6 months for that altercation, added to my sentence. That's how they do it in TYC. So bam, I'm in there, I'm like, damn, that's messed up. So I get out, you know, I finally, you know what I'm saying, by the time I got out of segregation, I was ready for the drug unit. I'm in the drug unit, and they're playing it like some straight hoes in there, man. At the time, that's how I looked at it, you know, because they got, you know, the level 4s in there trying to burn people, hold them accountable. You know, I can hold this peer accountable, you know, for, you know, whatever, just so they can get points and get their levels, because that's kind of how they do it in the drug unit. But it's only in the drug unit, because everybody's walking a thin line there. They're working to get time reduction. You know, you got people getting 3, 5, 6 years in TYC, and they're trying to knock off a year off that sentence, you know what I mean? So, they're burning people left and right, man, and I got burned a couple of times in there by some inmates, and I called them out, bro. I called them out. They talked a little trash, disrespected me, and I was like, man, come see me in the back, because in the back there's no cameras in the restrooms. So I'm letting them know, homie, you want something, come get you some, homie. You know, but they never wanted to throw down back there. And you know what I'm saying? I went back there a couple times while they was using their shit, and they didn't want no problems either, man. But when we out in the open, they was always running their mouthpiece. So I had it, man. I ran up on this blood dude in the chow hall, and I ended up getting, you know what I mean, some time for that. Even though, you know, he kind of got the best of me, I ended up getting some time for that. And I got kicked out the drug unit. So I'm in a whole nother tank, man. And in this tank, you know, as soon as I get there, I smashed the first dude, man. I was so mad. I was like, man, as soon as I hit whatever door, somebody having it, man. I said, I'm not riding the way I did over there. I'm not gonna wait. And so I smashed somebody in the back area. But that one, That unit, basically everybody, you know, the staff was cool like that. They let you throw down, do your thing back there. So man, I started taking over the tank. In no time, I had the tank. You know what I mean? I had Bloods, Cribs, Sureños in there, but I had the tank. I took over, man, because I wasn't having that. I had basically had it, man. By that point, I had been there over a year. You know what I mean? I had seen people come and go. I had seen shady shit go down. I had gotten into shit. So I was like, man, that's it. So I'm in there. I'm running the tank, you know, and I run the tank for months. I'm there. You know, we smash boys, restrain them, and they would go to the freaking security unit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, by that time I finally had made it to a level 3, on my way to a level 4. Finally I got my level 4. It was a wrap, man. Restraining boys, like, there was a couple cats came in there that wanted to act like they was tough, like they wasn't with the rules that I had laid down, that was implemented in the tank. So I smashed them, other boys smashed them, we jumped them, you know, tied them, held them accountable. They call security, the staff do, and they take the guys to security. Like, we got an incident here. There was a problematic youth offender in here. It didn't matter who you was. You know, if me and the other homies in there smashed you, you're going to shoot. That's how it went down. Even though we stole off on you and beat you up, you didn't do nothing, you're going to the shoot. That's some raw shit for you right there, man. So I seen a lot of shady shit from the next tank. Boom, I got knocked off, man. So I'm in the shoe again. I got popped with some stuff, but I was in the shoe. I had later gotten and the hearing, everything was dismissed because the CO actually vouched for me. The hearing had taken place. The whole ranch had popped off, man. Basically, it was like a bunch of people fighting each other, man, and like different gangs were going at it. And not only that, but dudes were tired of the COs too. They were smashing on COs. Like, the whole compound got lit up, bro. There was a man down in every single tank, bro. Like, all at one time, like a state school riot. Boom, 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 boom. They're throwing grenades in there. They couldn't even contain it, bro. They had to call all the state schools. The Star Unit showed up at San Saba and they raided the state school. You know, people were getting maced, tased, shot with pellet guns, like, you know, because boys had taken over tanks. They had a CO held hostage, like all kinds of craziness, man. And I'm telling you, the whole state school was lit the hell up, man. And the riot lasted about a good 2 weeks, man. And at that time, they started putting 3-4 people in the cell. You know, so I'm in the cell waiting for the dude that comes in. As soon as the first dude walk in, I laced him up. You know what I mean? I said, anybody get in here, they're getting smashed off the muscle. Unless they part of the affiliation or if they from the hometown. Other than that, they're getting mashed on, man. So that's exactly what I did. I smashed on this dude. The next dude came in, I smashed on him. I let him know, man, that this is my cell. You know, so I had one of them giving me their food, but the other one kind of turned into somebody that was, you know, a little more respectable, let's just say that, but not too much because, you know what I'm saying, I still had him in check, but he was eating his food. The other dude, I was taking his shit because it's survival of the fittest, man. If you're not finna die for this play, if you're not finna fight me all the way through, you know what I'm saying, till death do us part, then I was taking your shit, homie. And that's exactly what I did. That's basically the mentality I had. That's how I was trained. That's how it rolls in TYC, man. You can't be, you know what I'm saying? It turns you into that kind of an animal. So, finally my time, it came up. You know, I'm in the shoe and they say, hey, you going to the halfway house, man, you done. I was like, what? Because at the hearing, they had basically dropped it all and I was supposed to go back to a tank. But my time was up, so they was like, man, we're going to send you to the halfway house. I go to Veto House in McAllen, Texas. I land there, and at that time I had made a friend, un cuerno, out of Hebronville. So este camarada, you know what I'm saying, he comes to the Veto House, and we link up. I got some King brothers there with me already. You know, there's some King brothers at the halfway house. There's affiliations that I roll with that are coming. You know what I mean? I got my first job ever at Danny's, man. Danny's was like basically a restaurant, you know. I'm washing dishes. I worked there for 6 months, you know, stacking up my money. But the Beto house, man, I was in love with it. It was like nothing like TYC. I'm back in the free world. We having these little field trips. And there's a whole story I'll get into Beto house, but for right now, I'm sticking to San Saba State School. So in San Saba, Texas, at the state school, I was able to get my GED. Despite all the problems that I had gotten into, I still managed to get my GED. I was able to come out there, a little more on the I'm gonna do things differently time. You know what I mean? So I get out, I actually got a job at the halfway house. So, it was a blessing my whole time that I was able to be there, despite all the altercations that I got into in the TYC. Besides all the headaches and all the stress that they put me through. Because we also had to do a lot of workouts, you know what I mean? Every day was a workout. They wake you up at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is roll call, everybody in front of your bunk at attention, man. And when you at attention, they're gonna put your hands out for your toothpaste, and they put the toothpaste, everybody goes to the back, brush their teeth 2, 3 at a time. When you gotta take a sit down, you raise your hand, I gotta take a sit down or whatever. They let you go to the back, you take a sit down, and you got like 3 minutes, they timing you and they give you just a few little bit of toilet paper, there you go. So when you first get there, man, it's BS, man. It's gonna stress you out the most when you first get there, man. And the ones that run in the tank, the level 4s, you know what I mean? And you ain't running nothing. You're there, you're new bait, you're fresh meat, so you got zero respect. You gotta earn that. Nobody know you unless you got a couple of people you already been rocking with in the world and can vouch for you. Other than that, you're gonna get treated like everybody else, man. So the words we speak into the universe have the power of life and death. Let us watch our words wisely, so they might not be our downfall and our destruction, our demise. Let us speak with words of unity, of respect, of love, of honor, of decency, of compassion. Let us be a passionate people. Us human beings, in this day and age, in this era, it's finna be 2020. It's time we have that 2020 vision. And I'm speaking to all the races out there. When I was in the feds in USP Florence, Colorado, I met Sureños from Cali, homie. They had the yard. Norteños weren't allowed to walk on the yard. On that ranch. I've been to other ranches where they did, and I had a celly that was a Norteño, you know what I mean? So I've been cool with Norteños too. I'm cool with Sureños. I'm cool with all of y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? I met, people out of Chicago, Latin Kings out there, GDs. I met Vice Lord Stones out there. In Florida, I met Kings out there too. In different states, from New York, from Ohio, I met Kings from all over. The feds, a USP, you're gonna have people from every single city, every single state, people from all over the nation, bro. That's what the feds is, in case nobody ever told you. The feds, that's how we get down, man. Brown, black, and white, everybody. All my affiliations nationwide, todas las ranflas, todas las gangas, bro. I'm not gonna shoot no names this one, because I'm saying all of them, man. Every last one of them, from every race. It's on us to change things, man. It's on us to be a superhero. Like this, man. Ask yourself this question. Answer me this question. When you was a kid, did you or did you not want to be a superhero? Some kind of, Batman, Superman, Power Ranger, Avenger, some Marvel character. Or maybe you wanted to be a police officer like me. Whatever the case is, everybody had that desire in them since a little kid that they wanted to be a superhero. Especially, man. Why do you think that is? Because that's what God had created you to be is a superhero. You were born and designed to be a warrior for the kingdom of God. For righteousness, not for darkness, for righteousness. The problem is we let the world change us. It changed everything about us. Now instead of wanting to be a superhero, we want to be a villain. It's time we all go back to that childhood mentality and want to be a superhero. Instead of poisoning and destroying and killing the people, why don't you raise them up and pass down the torch to the next generation, something righteous. You see, the torch has been passed down. The kingdom of God is at hand. It is time for us to rise like the warriors were created to be. For the tongue has no bones, but with it comes life and death. And all that said, it's your boy Hyman G. Freedom Lifestyle. Out.